Hello, you're watching Uzbekistan News with me, Albina Gimranova. Uzbekistan's bilateral trade with CIS partners has expanded by almost a third in the year to date, said President Shavkat Mirziyoyev as he addressed the anniversary meeting of the Council of the Head of States of the Commonwealth of the Independent States. The summit was chaired by the President of the Republic of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko.
Mirziyoyev in his address shared his vision of key areas for strengthening partnership within the CIS. He highlighted the importance of ensuring sustainable economic growth in the CIS countries. He noted the positive dynamics of trade and economic cooperation despite the consequences of the pandemic. At the same time, the need for the full functioning of the free trade zone in the Commonwealth space without exceptions and restrictions was emphasized. In this regard, it is proposed to prepare recommendations on further liberalization of trade policy within the framework of the association on the basis of a comprehensive analysis. Mirziyoyev proposed to identify the development of industrial cooperation as a key issue on the economic agenda in the CIS in 2022. Next year, Uzbekistan is expected to host a forum and exhibition of industrial cooperation of the Commonwealth. Mirziyoyev also drew attention to the development of the system of effective interregional and transcontinental transport corridors, including by reducing tariffs and simplifying cargo transportation procedures. His address also included issues of countering climate change and promoting the green agenda, consolidating efforts to ensure biosafety, improving the labor market, as well as restoring mutual tourist flow and expanding cultural and humanitarian exchange. Speaking about the situation in Afghanistan, the Uzbek leader urged all states to continue the provision of humanitarian and economic assistance to the Afghan people.
As of September the 1st, the assets of all banks in Uzbekistan amounted to $37.6 billion, up 22.5% year-on-year, according to the Bank Activity Index released by the Center for Economic Research and Reforms of Uzbekistan. The liabilities of banks also increased by 24% to $31.6 billion. Total capital stood at $6.1 billion, up 15.2% year-on-year.
The Center for Economic Research and Reforms compiled the index by dividing banks into large and small groups. It said that Capital Bank had the best ratio of term deposits to the total amount of loans and recognized it the leader among large banks. Hamkor Bank, meanwhile, improved financial accessibility indicators, raised profitability, and reduced the share of NPLs by almost a third, and thus was placed second. Trust Bank closed the top three and kept its position as one of the leading banks in terms of capital adequacy, profitability, and liquidity. Davr Bank retained its leading position among small banks. Ziraat Bank rose to second place, with Universal Bank dropping to third. TBC Bank lost the seventh place to Tenge Bank. Experts note that TBC Bank and Anor Bank were still in the process of formation since they opened in the fourth quarter of 2020.
Uzbekistan's yarn export to Pakistan during 8 months of 2021 comprised $36.6 million, up 50% year-on-year, the country's embassy to Pakistan told Uzbek News. Nevertheless, Pakistani businessmen engaged in the textile industry have said that the supply was far from meeting the growing demand.
Yarn prices have recently increased approximately 40 to 70% for different counts. Importers said that even at these exorbitant rates, it was unavailable. Some of them noted that under the Taliban, transportation costs decreased significantly. Khalid Taimur Akram, executive director at Pakistan's think tank organization Center for Global and Strategic Studies, told us report that the Taliban takeover in Afghanistan has helped in untapping the trade potential between Uzbekistan and Pakistan. It's been observed that the trade volume has significantly increased as the transit trade route via Afghanistan to Uzbekistan opens up new opportunities of trade for both countries, he said.
Uzbekistan ranked 85th out of 139 countries on rule of law, rising 14 positions, according to the World Justice Project Rule of Law Index 2021. Uzbekistan's overall rule of law score increased 4.1%. Significant trends for Uzbekistan included improvements in the factors measuring constraints on government powers, absence of corruption, and open government. Regionally, Eastern Europe and Central Asia top performer in the index is Georgia, followed by Kosovo and North Macedonia. In the last year, 8 out of 14 countries declined in Eastern Europe and Central Asia. Of those 8 countries, 5 had also declined in the previous year. French multinational automobile manufacturer Renault plans to organize the production of passenger cars in Uzbekistan, according to the company's press service. The brand's presence in the country includes localization of car assembly and the development of dealer network.
Uzbekistan is a fast-growing market in the Central Asian region. Interest in new cars is steadily increasing here. We are sure that Uzbek customers will appreciate Renault cars, their bright design, modern technologies and a higher level of comfort, Renault CEO in Russia and the CIS, Taiwan Fire, said. The automaker is expected to present models on the Uzbek market that have previously proven themselves in Russia and other CIS countries. Uzbekistan's car market has started seeing a boost in recent years. The dominance of UzAuto, which enjoyed customs privileges and preferences for decades, according to analysts, will soon over. The company is set to compete with such brands as Volkswagen, Lada, Kia and now also Renault.
Tashkent has held a large-scale campaign for proper nutrition and rational use of the soil chaired by the Food and Agriculture Organization jointly with Uzbekistan Public Education Ministry. The event commemorated World Food Day that is celebrated every year on October 16th. This year's day aims to raise awareness of the need to facilitate the transition to more sustainable agri-food systems to improve the quality of life. By the end of October, all schools in the country where the Zaman Eco-Education program is being implemented will have greenhouses installed. Moreover, the children will be provided with the necessary equipment for practical activities, including more than 15,000 children involved in the activities on the rational use of soils. Such interactive seminars are planned to be held regularly, said Sharzot Umarov, the organization's assistant representative. The scope of FAO project on integrated natural resources management in drought-prone and salt-affected agricultural production landscapes in Central Asia and Turkey, there were 22 greenhouses built and transferred to the specialized and eco-schools of the country on a grain basis. In these greenhouses, students will attend classes designed to improve their knowledge and skills in the field of environmental protection, agriculture, ecology, and rational use of resources. One of these greenhouses was granted to the specialized school number 102. For every day of 2021, the number of Uzbekistan permanent residents increased by an average of 1.9 thousand, the State Statistics Committee has reported. The growth rate of the resident population has increased by 1.5% since the beginning of the year. The population of Uzbekistan has increased by an average of 57.8 thousand persons per month since the beginning of the year. Besides, the country has registered over 670,000 births. In other words, the forecast of the population division of the UN Department of Economic and Social Affairs did not come true. International analysis predicted that in 2021, the population of Uzbekistan would increase by over 504,000 people and reach nearly 34.2 million people. The Uzbek nationals are now allowed to pay taxes in installments following the amendments to the tax code signed by President Shavkat Mirziyoyev earlier this week, the Republic's Justice Ministry has reported. Following the Article 99, the State Tax Committee is entitled to grant citizens with the opportunity to pay taxes and turnover tax in installments in the prescribed manner without providing property as a pledge, without a surety or bank guarantee, except for income tax, social security tax, and some other exceptions. Besides, interested persons who have been carried out activities for more than 3 years and paid the taxes on time, but whose financial situation does not allow them to pay off their tax debt on time, may be allowed to pay taxes in installments. According to the amendments, the taxpayers' income allocated to education in professional and higher educational institutions of Uzbekistan under 26 years of age are not subjected to taxation. 3 people were killed and another 7 were injured when a strong earthquake and an aftershock hit Indonesia's resort island early Saturday. The quake hit just before the dawn, causing people to run outdoors in a panic. It struck just 2 days after the island reopened to international travelers as coronavirus cases decline. The U.S. Geological Survey said the magnitude 4.8 quake was centered 38.5 miles northeast Singaraja, a Bali port town. Its shallow depth of 10 kilometers may have amplified the amount of damage. A magnitude 4.3 aftershock followed. The Australian state of Victoria has recorded almost 2,000 locally transmitted new cases of coronavirus over the past 24 hours and 7 people have died. The state's COVID-19 response commander, Jeroen Weimer, said Saturday. One of the deaths was a girl of 15, he said. Talking to the reporters in Melbourne, Weimer said the state now had more than 21,000 active cases of COVID-19. He said that more than 88% of people over 16 in Victoria have had at least one vaccine dose and 64% were double-jabbed. Meanwhile, New South Wales has recorded 2 new deaths and a further 319 locally acquired cases of COVID-19 infections in the past 24 hours. The Australian Capital Territory recorded 20 locally acquired new cases of COVID-19 in the past 24 hours. Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen visited a mosque on Saturday to pay respects to the people killed earlier this week in a fire in a rundown building in the port city of Kaohsiung. Tsai also visited a hospital where some of the wounded were undergoing treatment. She has instructed her administration to provide all the help it can to the people affected by the fire and the family members of those who lost their lives. Taiwanese officials set up an independent commission on Friday to investigate the conditions at the building, while authorities scored the blackened ruins for the cause of the blaze that claimed 46 lives and injured another 41. Neighborhood residents said that 13-story building was home to many poor, elderly and disabled people, and it wasn't clear how many of the 120 units were occupied. The building once even boasted a skating rink in the basement and a department store, but has grown increasingly derelict in recent years as other parts of the city started developing and drew people away, local media reported. The fire broke out in the lower area at about 3 a.m. Thursday, and witnesses reported hearing a loud sound like an explosion. It took firefighters until 7 a.m. to fully extinguish the blaze. And these have been the latest news for today. Goodbye and see you.